Warning, this podcast may contain bad language and views on elections that some listeners may find offensive.
Well, it won't be views on elections. It's more about election processes.
You don't know what I've got written down.
Oh, it's going to be one of those, is it? Oh, dear. Okay. Welcome back to Seesaw Podcast. A vote for us this general election will ensure more money for disabled people and fresh content like this weekly.
That's not strictly untrue.
Make podcasts great again. We are back. And before we go into today's topic, shall we do a quick run around? Cleaves, what's going on?
Well, I've had loads of stuff going on recently.
I doubt that.
Oh, do you know what I did? I got an operation date for my cataract. It's in July.
Oh,
So there's that. Other than that, I don't actually have much to say. T?
I didn't know you were going to have your cataract operated on.
Yeah, it's got big enough that it'll scrape it out now.
Mm.
Well, I didn't realize was that you're awake the entire time and they actually take the lens out of your eye out and just put a fake lens in. So
Yeah.
that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, I've been awake for surgery before.
How was that? In fact, don't tell me. I don't really want to know.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay, that said more than I needed.
Yeah. Just text it to him. As for me, yeah, not too bad. Busy with all sorts of stuff. Work as always. That's pretty much it, to be fair. Getting ready for Site Village 2024.
Woo!
Yeah. But we'll come on to that later on. Selina, how are you? Are you able to talk?
No, but I'm here. I'm feeling very poorly, but I'm committed to the podcast. I'm turning up for episodes that are important.
Have you had chance to use the Envision beta yet?
Yeah, for like 2 minutes and it crashed. So that's probably why it's still in beta.
Brilliant.
Well, you got further than me because I couldn't even load the fucking app.
It has to be on an iPhone.
I've got an iPhone.
Oh.
I just didn't load it. I'm not incompetent. It's not my competency.
She's there with a landline telephone ringing the dial like
Beta, hello.
I tell you what though, 2 exciting things about the app before it crashed. One, you have to like name your assistant. So I called mine Eyes because it's going to be like my eyes. What's this? And 2, you then have to pick a voice, and there's like a million to choose from. Obviously, I skimmed past all the American ones: old American, young American, this American, that American. There's a few British ones, and I settled with George.
Wow. Cool. Well, when I finally am able to use it, we will come back later on with a more comprehensive review of this because it's quite interesting. It's a voice assistant for the visually impaired and blind community outside of Siri, Google Assistant, Bixby, if you're a sadist. So really interesting that Envision are doing this. We'll see how the beta carries on going, and we'll report back soon.
I've got some quick line news for you, sort of. I half-assed it big time. Anyway, something about the people that run Harry Potter World or something donated something to the guide dogs.
Yes.
They called it Dogwarts. Yeah? Like that?
Yeah.
I was in there for the pun, to be fair.
They've named 3 guide dogs: Ron, Hermione, and Harry. Sponsored 3 dogs.
I wonder how many will actually pass.
None.
Harry is a black Labrador. Ron is a blonde Labrador, and I think he should have been a fox red Labrador, really. And Hermione's like a long-haired golden retriever. She's got
Really? Does Harry have like a little white line over his eye?
I feel like
condition of the donation.
Shaved in. I feel like
a lightning bolt.
Well,
yeah.
Hopefully there'll be magical additions to qualified guide dogs. I do not have any QBN. I haven't had any for ages.
Me neither, but I just saw that. Also, someone was unfairly dismissed from a work trial. Some sort of blind baker. Man, I got plenty of half-assed blind news today.
Oh,
Dismissed like a few weeks into a 6-month probationary period.
that's a long time for a baker.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
really thought about that. Anyway, I went to employment tribunal, and from what I understand, they won. So
I mean, would you want the job
go
back?
the law. Sorry.
I imagine they just want money. I mean, could you go back to the job?
I was gonna say cupcakes all round, but anyway.
They were suing for like £112,000 or something.
Fucking hell.
It's nuts, isn't it?
That is.
Anyway, don't quote me on any of these facts in inverted commas. Look up the news stories yourselves.
Yep.
BBC News. Dogwads.
Selina, any QBN?
Yeah, I saw some the other day and I thought, oh, that'll be good for QBN. And I really can't remember it. Something about someone in Bristol doing an architect degree and they're visually impaired. Yeah, they did it.
Building walls for blind people.
Building bridges would have been better.
Yeah. That would have been good.
Yeah, it would have been. But there we go. If you want quality, find a better podcast.
All right.
Cool.
So,
Okay, so this week's topic, we will be talking about elections.
Out of curiosity, Selina, did you see the title of the stream?
yes, I did.
I thought that you would have an opinion on that.
Was it erections?
No.
Something,
Don't
it
be
was
racist.
something erections. It was something to do with erections.
No. It was nothing. It was about elections.
I
It was,
swear I read it.
it was electile dysfunction because
Oh,
we're
that was
about
it.
elections
It was
and we're
related to
disability podcasts. So it's
it. That
yeah,
was
it works on so many levels.
Okay.
Definitely not a slur.
Now that you're done patting yourself on the back, let's
Thanks.
actually get into the topic, shall we? So, in the UK, we have a general election coming up on the 4th of July.
Independence Day.
It's our Independence Day.
Well, we
and-
gave it back.
It won't be as good as the film featuring Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith. Fun film. So, a quick overview on a general election in the UK for our American listeners and everyone who's not in the UK. Unlike the American system, you're not voting for a president. Essentially, what you're doing is you're voting for a political party, a local MP in your constituency, and then based on the majority share of seats across the country, that party comes into power. They station the Prime Minister and the cabinet based on who they like best. It's done through internal processes and various things like that. So as far as leading the country, the UK people have no say in that whatsoever. But looking at how shit the US election is, you have no say on having anyone good.
Whoa. They got a choice between a criminal and, like a senile old man.
yeah.
But what's going to happen? Will Trump beat him or will the Ravagers of Age?
I mean, yeah. So that's the main difference. I know a lot of the US stuff is like, oh, this candidate versus this candidate. That's not the case with the UK. We do know who the leaders of these parties are, but they change quite often, to be fair. They get ousted, especially in recent years. So today we're going to be talking about elections and disability and how you can engage in elections if you are disabled. So let's start off with the methodologies behind it.
You make it sound so sexy.
I know. I mean, I've gotten half naked already. So there are three main ways to engage in elections. The first one is by post. Not really much to say about this. In the UK,
I applied for a postal vote via the government website. I found the form fairly accessible to fill in. And, they're basically going to send me a postal vote. And then what happens is you just fill in the postal vote and then you take it to your local post box and chuck it in. And that's it. Your vote's done, posted.
Yep.
Gone away.
I will preface that you have to be registered to vote in the UK as well.
Oh, yeah, you
For
have to
all of
register to
these.
vote, then you have to register for a postal vote.
Yeah, and that's the case for another one of these types of voting as well. But you have to be registered. And if you're listening to this, it's too late to register. So if you haven't registered already, then maybe, listen to this for entertainment reasons. But you can't register at this point. But you can register for other things. So I think postal votes are still available up until a certain point. I think it's also the same as a proxy vote, 26th of June. So you can still register for a postal vote. Makes it nice and easy. You don't have to go anywhere. If you
Have to
need
go to
assist,
the post box.
well, yeah,
But you can apply for a postal vote online at least.
Mhm.
yep, you certainly
And
can.
why did you do that? Why did you do a
Oh, because
postal?
I'm actually going to be away on election day. I'm going to be camping in the field.
Ah, okay, fair.
So I needed another way to vote, and I figured that'd be the one.
Very good.
SMRT.
Mhm.
So the next method is in person. So there are a volume of different styles of polling stations in the UK. They pop up everywhere. I can't talk today. They usually be at like schools, council buildings, all sorts of stuff. And you can attend in person, and you take with you a polling card, which is sent to you. They'll give you a printed list of candidates for that area. You have to go to a polling station in with your constituency. You can't just go anywhere. They'll give you that. You show them your ID, really important. If you're going to vote in person, you have to show photo ID. You cannot vote without it. It's a legal requirement. Then you'll be ushered into a little booth. Yeah, mark off who you're voting for, and you're done. Nice and simple in theory. But there can be a lot of accessibility issues with this. We will get on to what the RNIB has pointed out, which I wasn't aware of, and Selina can fill us in on that. There can be issues with voting in person, of course, like accessibility reasons. If you contact the electoral registration office in your area, they'll be able to notify you of accessible locations, because they can be at schools and various places. They might not have wheelchair ramps and various things like that for mobility needs. All polling stations have to have a lowered polling booth for those in wheelchairs. It's a legal requirement. They have to have that. They also need to be able to provide a large print paper ballot of the candidates. According to the government website, it just says they have to have that as a requirement. It doesn't say a standardization of font. It doesn't say Braille. It doesn't say anything other than it has to be large print. So in theory, it could be font 14 as opposed to 12. Technically, is larger print. So it wasn't outlined what the standardization of it is. So before we move on to the next one, Selina, you're going to clue us in on what the ONIB said, because up until this point, I was under the impression that you couldn't get assistance at these polling stations.
Well, there's a couple of bits that you've missed off that the RNIB says is true. For example, polling stations should also have magnifying glasses if people need them, a tactile guide to put on top of your polling piece of paper. And you can also, if you like doing events, which I didn't know about, is apply to have like an audio thing for when you go to a polling station. That will, I don't know, read out in order, apparently, like the candidates in your area, which sounded, I don't know, weird. But yes, someone can guide you to a polling booth. They can offer you assistance in that sense. And when I voted in the past, I've had someone read out the names for me. You can also use apps on your phone, that's allowed, like Seeing AI, to read the paper. And yeah, lots of ways to do it. But there is a big thing about lots of visually impaired people aren't able to. It's a legal requirement for us to be able to vote in secret, but that's not always the case.
Yeah, and I think that it is still the case that they cannot mark off your ballot for you, even if you tell them who the candidate is. That's something they can't do. So even with these other things that are in place, being shown into the booth and various things, and even with the guide and like the paper guide, it's still on you to mark your ballot. And if you're not comfortable doing that, or you think you might make a mistake, they cannot help you do that.
Yeah, I
Because
get stressed out
obviously-
about my cross if I've crossed accurately enough in the box, even with the tactile things. Like, is this going to be counted? Have
Yeah.
I crossed effectively?
Well, next time you can go in and listen to that audio thing, and when it's like lists you out all of the parties, and it's like, you have crossed off BNP,
Yes.
and then
Like,
everyone will look at you.
Yeah. But that does bring up a fair point about being like a bit concerned about that, because you have to mark off your ballot in a very specific way, and they are void if if you're not within the requirements of it, they can be voided and it goes down as a spoiled vote. So that's the other concern, marking it yourself.
But you're probably never going to know that, are you?
No, but you want to feel confident that your vote has been cast.
True.
You don't want to be questioning whether you've marked off the right thing or whether your vote is going to be spoiled just through no fault of your own.
That's a good point.
So there are risks to it. Carers can't help you from what I understand either. Like the staff can help you out, but when I've gone voting before, my wife has not been able to go in to show me.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have taken over as well before when I've gone in, where someone's like, "Yay!" Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It depends on your polling station. There might be some flexibility some places, but not others. It depends how strict they're being, but there's a lot of rules they should be following.
Oh, they live it at my polling station. When I walk in, there's like, oh yes, we've got a tactile guide. It's like probably the first person, only person to use it. It's like, yes, we can use the things that we've been allocated.
Do you think they'll actually have those though? Because you listed out all those things, and in my head I went, bet 99% of polling stations probably ain't gonna have them.
I've only lived in 2 places, but they've had them in both places I've gone to. Tactile guide.
And shut my mouth.
Yeah.
And if you like getting in a cubicle with a stranger, probably the way to go for that day.
I think on the tactile guide as well, it had braille on it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like for each box, from what I recall.
Oh.
There you go. Your results might vary depending on where you are, but this is what they should be providing. If you have any questions, like I said, you can go to the electoral registration office. You can get them online. You can give them a call. Links in the show notes if you are concerned about it, and you can chat to someone and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. And maybe if they haven't got that stuff in place, they'll be able to do that before you go, if they know where you're going. Yeah.
Oh, and also, but ID wise, it's a new requirement this time to have photo ID, and blue badge is one of the things you can use. So a lot of people worry that they don't have a driving license or a passport, but you can use your blue badge.
There you go. Blue badge brigade.
Top tip.
Unless you park in a disabled parking space, take your blue badge through ID, get a ticket, take it back, and then get angry. You've done that.
Yeah, that might be an issue.
Yeah, just be very wary of that. Okay, so there is a third type of voting as well, and this is the proxy votes. So a proxy vote is when you can nominate someone to vote on your behalf, and this to be voting for in person. There are some weird stuff that goes behind this. We're going to cover the individual side of it, but there's a lot of information out there about commercial premises and organizations who do have the right to vote and stuff like that, and they have to have proxy votes and all sorts. So if you do look up proxy voting, just be aware that that is something that will come up a lot. But you can nominate someone to vote on your behalf. You need to be registered to vote, and you have to register that person to vote by the 26th of June 2024. It is a legal requirement. You need to provide the details of that person. It's not enough to say that I'm going to have someone proxy vote for me. You need to provide their details, like date of birth, their name, that sort of thing. that person needs to show photo ID when they go. So you can't just say my mum and then your mum shows up. It's not going to work.
What if
So,
their name's my mum?
well, then there's no problem, is there? And then they will mark off your votes from what you have asked them to do. Really good way around it. Gets around a lot of the accessibility issues. You have to have a lot of trust in this person. That's the only thing, because ultimately, when they're in that voting booth, you have to trust them to mark down what you said to mark down, because you're the only one who would know that you've told them that. No one else knows other than you and them. So that is a flaw to this system. But if you want to be able to vote in that way, you can. Even if you go there with them in person, you can go with them and they can be your proxy voter. But you can't go in the cubicle with them, even though it's your vote that they are the proxy for. You can't go in with them, which is weird. I think it's something that's going to be changed, but you can't do that, which is odd. Again, it might vary depending where you go. They might be a bit more flexible, but technically they're not supposed to go in with you. So you could go there with, say, a family member or a friend who's going to vote on your behalf, and you can't even go in to the booth while they do your vote.
But if you're going in there, you may as well do your own vote.
True, but like we said, for the earlier reason of having the confidence of marking your ballot properly, you might not be able to do so.
I don't think I'd purposely go down to a polling station if I knew I wasn't going to vote. What would be the point?
Yeah.
I'd be kicking it at home watching TV.
Yeah. One benefit of proxy vote as well is for those who may have social anxiety, learning disabilities, autism, various things like that, who might not be comfortable in that scenario for various reasons, or might need support in casting their ballot. This is a good way of them being able to vote in the election, because they would have had it all gone through with them at their own pace in a format that's right for them, and then the vote can be cast on the day. So this is something that can be all sorted beforehand, and it's not sort of a rush on the day to get something done. So those are the three main types of voting in the UK. I'm not going to cover voting from abroad. It's frankly a fucking mess, and very complex. But before we move on, what are our experiences of voting? Selina, you've touched on yours a little bit, but any other experiences when it comes to casting your vote?
I'm waiting for you guys to share first.
I've always voted by postal vote. I've never been to a polling station in my life. It's partly lazy. Well, no, it's just laziness. Yeah, it's laziness. I never know what I'm doing on that day. So I just think, I'll get it done in advance. Maybe it's efficiency, in fact. I'm not waiting around for a cubicle. What if I've got like claustrophobia or some sort of phobia of cubicles?
Phobicals.
You do realise it's not like a changing room cubicle.
No, I don't. I've never been. What is it like?
It's just, it's like only, there's a line of them, and there's just like little, I suppose it's a bit like COVID times, like little partitions between each booth. It's big enough for one person to stand in.
Well, I don't want to see people like other people see me getting changed. So I'll do that at home and then just post it.
Fair enough. I have voted in person for all of my votes. I have enough sight to roughly be able to see what I'm doing, but I do need a bit of a briefing before I go in, just on what I need to do, where I need to put my mark, that sort of thing. People have always been quite good and quite helpful when I've done it. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Is it the ideal? No, but polling stations have always been near to where I live, and I've always been lazy and forgetful in getting my postal vote sorted. So I was like, oh, voting today. And then I just wander down there with my passport and my polling card and just sort it. That's pretty much my experience.
Mine, it's been okay, but I guess I'm not really getting my vote in secret. Most of the time when I've gone, it's someone from the polling station that's offered to help. And I'm pretty sure they're looking over my shoulder when I've marked it. Actually, I'm pretty sure that they take the tactile, because the tactile marking, like it sticks to the paper. So then they've peeled it off, and then folded my paper up. So they've definitely seen my vote. Which
And put it in the bin.
yeah. No. I
Maybe.
think I have posted it in the little box myself. But
Yeah.
I've let them fold it up.
Well, it's part of putting it in the box. But it's gone forever.
Yeah, what happened to you? Is it like actually just a little box thing? Is that all it is? Like, because it sounds really old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really old school.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Speaking of things that aren't old school, and this is something that I was quite surprised about, there's only one country in the world that allows online voting for local and general elections, and it's Estonia, where all citizens can cast their vote online through the government website.
Oh, that'd be much easier.
Yeah.
It would, but who knows who's voting, and it's bound to get hacked, it's bound to crash.
Oh, I'm sorry, Selena. When that person palmed you their own vote after peeling off yours and you put someone else's vote in the box, that's much safer.
Yeah. And it's not like votes have ever been left on a train in like a box or something like that. Yeah. It's never happened.
Never had US election recounts before.
No. Or ballot stuffing. Or literally any other controversies that go with elections.
Yeah.
No, they are complex things. I would like to see an online system personally, or at least the ability to go to somewhere and then use my phone, or have like a phone app.
You can use your phone app.
No, but I mean to vote. Like
Oh,
it unlocks the ability
Scan a
on
QR
the
code.
day or something like that, and then during that window you can log on after doing all the authentication with like your bank wants like authentication through like photo ID and stuff. So why not for a voting system? And then you log on the day, and then you can do the vote with like a screen reader. Be easier.
Probably, yeah.
So that's the processes in the UK. Why should you vote?
this is your right.
Because yeah, it's all right. It is important to. I can't remember the exact statistic. I didn't write it down. I'm an idiot. But I'd love to say, well, people don't take part in elections. As far as underrepresented groups, the disabled community is really underrepresented when it comes to local and general elections. Not sure why that is. Maybe it's an accessibility thing. Maybe they don't feel that the parties, like the key parties in the UK, represent them or their needs or their best interests. But if you don't vote, sad to say you can't really complain about the state of things if you don't put your voice out there.
The thing is also, people think they're voting for the Prime Minister, which obviously you said at the start is not the case. You're voting for an MP in your area.
Yeah.
And like where I live, it's predominantly one party already. And to be fair, my vote probably makes no difference whatsoever to what the outcome would be. It's been the same ever since, I've been born. So I see why maybe some people don't vote.
I mean, that's true. But when you look at the fact that some seats do change hands every election, I mean, the votes do make a difference.
Yeah, my constituency changed for the first time in the last election, and it's been the same for quite a few number of years before that. So who knows? Maybe it is time for change again.
Yep. Yep, you're not wrong. But there we go. Elections. That's pretty much everything that we had to cover today. I'm not going to lie, it's not the most interesting of topics.
Why would you? fucking say that.
Because
You know
it's
what?
true.
If you actually read the links that I sent you in our group chat earlier, you would have had more content.
Really? Sorry. You want to get on your high horse about us not coming prepared to a
Yeah.
podcast? Yeah.
The link
I
You want to
don't
you
think-
sit
said,
there?
but haven't read comprehensively yourself.
No, because
By
I
the
thought you were
sounds of
going to add it to the notes. So maybe I should have been explicit about that in
I'm
the
sorry,
group.
I've been working and also doing another podcast this evening.
I've been
I
bored,
did notes.
and I at
Just-
least made the effort to send some information.
you clicked share.
Yep.
You don't get a Pulitzer Prize for that.
Anyway, on there, just to add a little bit more content, if you would like to go on RNIB, they tell you stuff about what you can ask your local MPs if what they're campaigning for visually impaired people. Like, we should be asking for things. I can't talk. I'm gonna cough. We should be asking for things like accessible voting. Is that in their plans? We have for visually impaired people that lose their sight, because there's a long wait at the moment for people to get support from their local councils and other things like that. Look it up on my link. It's in the group.
Yeah.
Fair.
And the link will be in the show notes for you to go.
Stop saying that. Unless you're going to put those links in there, stop saying that, because I won't.
Okay. The links will be in the show notes.
Damn it.
Yeah. It's important to raise the issues as well. And like, democracy doesn't just start and end with elections. Like, get involved in your MP if you want to see positive change. If they don't give you the change or don't have a good answer for you, or they're not willing to listen, then that can affect who you vote for next time. So just be involved with it, because ultimately, if you are going to be involved in these systems, you want them to benefit you. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, it's out of sight, out of mind. And there'll always be something that come out that will take the focus. So you do need to be engaged. And on that, I think we'll leave it there, because Selina needs to go to the hospital by the sound of it. Have a bit of a nebulizer. But let us know what your experiences of voting are like, especially if you're not in the UK. I would like to know what the accessibility is like in places like the US or in other countries, because we do have listeners elsewhere in the world. Let us know what it's like for you. Are they accessible? Are they more accessible? Never know. Yeah, have you not voted because you can't? That's probably the case in some instances. Get us at all the links coming up.
Thank you for listening to Seesaw Podcast. Your feedback and comments mean a lot to us, so if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so in the following ways.
You can find us on X at Seesaw Pod, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Seesaw Podcast. You can email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com, and you can stream with us live every week on Twitch at Seesaw Podcast.
Remember to like, rate, review and share with a friend.
This podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.